Israeli's might is no comparison to Ileana's might in making sure that we have everything safe. She stands out as one of the most impassioned supporters in Congress. She's a ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and former chair of the Middle East Subcommittee. Representative Ross-Layton has consistently been a leader in every single pro-Israel legislation around. So, in a recent statement in Israel's self-defensive war with Hamas, she said the following, and I quote, "This conflict is one part of a broader struggle that we are all engaged in, a struggle between liberty and tyranny, between democracy and violent Islam extremism, between those who love life and those who preach that. It is a struggle that the United States and Israel did not seek, but which we must nonetheless fight and win. On the outcome rests our freedom, our security, and our very existence. Today, this House sends a strong and unequivocal sign that America stands with Israel in spite of it. Will you join me?
Yay! There are never any dull moments in Congress, but today is one of those jam-packed action days. We just finished, I left a little bit early, our Foreign Affairs hearing on Pakistan. As you know, there's nothing going on in that area of the world. Nuclear weapons, and we want to make sure that they're in safe hands. We want to make sure that Pakistan does not offer any safe havens to Al-Qaeda, Taliban, or any other extremist Islamic group. And so we had Richard Holbrooke testifying, and then another set of panelists that were going to testify after that. So I have to get back to that hearing. At the same time, we have both the President of Afghanistan and the President of Pakistan here today, and we have back-to-back meetings with them. And it is just one of those days. But how great to have you here! How wonderful and thrilled that I am to be here with you. And there's no more important appointment that I have today than to meet with my great supporters from AIPAC. Thank you so much. The theme of the policy conference this year for AIPAC, Relationships Matter. Such a great theme, and it reinforces what many of you know all too well, that strong support for Israel is not a partisan issue. It's one that unites us, Democrats and Republicans. You just heard from Debbie Wasserman-Schultz. I don't need to know what Debbie says, because I know what Debbie thinks, and I know what she says every day on the House floor, and she doesn't need to know what I'm going to say, because she knows where I stand on these issues. And Israel's fight, it's an existential fight to defend itself every day from violent extremist groups, the Islamic militants and their state sponsors, because without these state sponsors, they would not be in existence. And it reminds us that foreign policy has no off-season. There's no August break for Israel. Activism to protect American interests in the area, and Israel to be remaining as a democratic Jewish state is a priority for the United States, and it's a priority that's got to continue now stronger than ever. Never take it for granted. And that's why your membership and your participation in AIPAC, especially in this policy week, is so important. You're here to advocate for policies that strengthen the U.S.-Israeli partnership, but also to make sure that every issue related to Israel's security and prosperity is ever present in the minds of all of our colleagues. And I know that Israel can count on you. I know that the United States can count on you. I know that I can count on AIPAC to always do the right thing to Let me mention just a few things that are ever present in every member with whom I meet when I go to Israel. I'll be there in August again. It's my yearly visit. It's the one country I keep going to. I've got to expand my horizons. It's so hard to not go to Israel every year. But Iran, we all know. Talk about an existential threat to Israel's survival. That is a nuclear-powered Iran. And you know that Iran could develop this nuclear capability later this year, in just a matter of months, and it's long past due that we apply a badly needed sense of urgency to our policy toward Iran. And with your assistance, with AIPAC's help, we can. And that's why I introduced the Iran Threat Reduction Act. It's the H.R. 1208. You know it. It would demonstrate that we are moving proactively to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, unconventional weapons, long-range ballistic missiles capable of hitting Israel, but also not too far. Ooh, there goes your stuff. Photographer. Almost 100 members of Congress have co-sponsored this bill, and I need your help to generate even more support, and with an eye to hitting Iranians where they're most vulnerable. That is their ability to financially purchase refined gas products. I joined with my good friend, the chairman of our committee, Howard Berman, good friend of Israel, good friend of AIPAC, good friend of all of us, in introducing H.R. 2198. And I know that you've been doing your homework. I know that you've been storming the halls already, getting us co-sponsors, the Iran Refined Petroleum Sanctions Act of 2009. We are going to swell up the number of co-sponsors in 1 week. I know it. I'm going to see where we were last week, and I'm going to see where we are next week. And then what happened in that week? You guys happened. AIPAC stormed the Capitol. So I'm looking forward to getting a lot of co-sponsors. Thanks for your help with that piece of legislation. Also with my great friend Brad Sherman of California, as well as Howard, we've got two key pieces of legislation. A bill that ensures that that sanctions that are currently in place on the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, that's their military, are fully implemented. You know, we've got such great laws already. We've got to implement those sanctions, and it authorizes sanctions against companies that continue to do business with the Revolutionary Guard or any of their designated front organizations, of which there are many. And also with Brad, I have another bill that would allow taxpayers to defer their gains on a transaction where they sell stock in a company doing certain business in Iran and Sudan. As you know, Florida's been the leader in that. Here in Congress, we haven't moved on that legislation yet, but maybe this is the year. But because Brad and I are tracking not just what's going on in Iran, but also Syria. Syria is a primary concern to AIPAC, to all of you, and to me. We cannot neglect the Syrian threat. Ahmadinejad, because of his loud mouth, he gets all the attention. Assad, in his quiet but despotic manner, he just sometimes gets ignored. But we know Syria is doing all it can to get nuclear capabilities, other non-conventional weapons, ballistic missiles, and it's actively supporting Islamic extremists. Iran and Syria have joined forces to augment their reach, and we have heard reports from defectors from Iran, including the former Deputy Minister of Defense, who's disclosed the financing of Iran to Syria's nuclear program. And the centerpiece of this was a nuclear reactor built with North Korea's help. You know what Israel did with that. Thank goodness the Israeli strike in September 2007 nipped that in the bud. You're out of here. People said, all these international folks, oh, you know, Israel should have done that. Yeah. They were silently very glad that Israel did that, because Syria and Iran are both a threat, not just to Israel. They're a threat to all those other countries in the region, and these guys know it. So there's another bill, the Syrian Accountability and Liberation Act. We've got over 70 members of Congress in a bipartisan manner co-sponsoring that bill. So let's, I hope that you can get us some more co-sponsors and get it through committee and onto the floor. Israel and the Palestinians. Now, one of the issues in which probably Debbie and I might disagree, but maybe not, is on aid that's in the supplemental to the West Bank and Gaza. I am against the administration's plan to provide $900 million in aid to West Bank and Gaza. I think that this will be a direct, I know that this will be a direct cash transfer to the PA. $300 million would go to rebuild the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip. What will Hamas do with it? Sure, they'll rebuild their mosques, their schools, and everywhere they launch these illegal attacks on Israel from. And it's really a bailout for Hamas, and they will use that money, rebuild those schools, the mosques, the hospitals, and which is where, again, they launched their strikes against Israel, and then that'll free up a lot of money for their arms sales. So despite the claim, and I know it's a wonderful claim, we all want it and wish it, but wishing it will not make it come true, that the aid will not go to Hamas. Who else is going to be distributing that aid? What NGO? UNRWA? Well, there's a fine set of fellows there. And there really is only one ultimate distributor and guarantor of aid in Gaza, and that's Hamas. So dumping money into Hamas, into the Gaza reconstruction plan, will free up money so that Hamas can then buy rockets and other arms. So we're hoping, we had a great hearing and a great meeting with Secretary of State Clinton. She understands this problem, and we're hoping that before the supplemental gets to the floor, we can fix this. And finally, let me just end on this, on the UN and the anti-Semitism that keeps growing and growing and growing. As you know, the Durban II conference finished up in Geneva. We congratulate President Obama for taking the courageous step amidst great pressure that was upon him to continue on with the conference, to say, oh, we've got to be in there if we want to change the culture. He pulled out. Let's give applause for the right thing. And this sequel, I think, was really worse than others. You saw Ahmadinejad giving a keynote address filled with hate against Israel, talking again about this anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. It could have been taken word from word from the protocols of the elders of Zion. I mean, it's just like a broken record. We know what you're going to say. You're crazy. Get out of there. But instead of condemning Ahmadinejad for his vicious bigotry, the assembled nations applauded him. They passed a declaration. Again, what a surprise, it singled out only one country. Who? Which one? Israel, for criticism. And that's why I've introduced a bill that essentially refunds U.S. taxpayer dollars for the amount that we paid into Durban. Yes, we did not participate, but yes, we paid for it. We paid for this. So then you get into the bigger section of the bill, which is to root out the corruption, the ineffectiveness, the untransparent and non-transparent, non-accountable United Nations process. So we're hoping that we can get more co-sponsors on that bill to get our tax money back for what we spent on Durban and get our money back for UN Human Rights Council. You know how incredibly flawed that group is. I mean, it's laughable. I commend the administration for thinking that they can do a better job if we're in that body. But, it's so wonderful to think that if we're there, they won't single out Israel. Maybe that'll work for 1 year, but if at all. You know what their record is like in the UN Human Rights Council. Whether we're there or whether we're not, I don't think that much will improve. Maybe the first year to appease us, but in the end, they will make sure that every condemnation that can be heaped upon Israel will be, and it's laughable. I believe we should not be a part of it, but let's see what we get out of it. So it's a long speech. My staff does a lot of work on Israel, and they make me sound really intelligent. But you guys are the wind beneath my wings. You're the ones that lift me up and get me sailing. and make sure that I always do the right thing and at the right time. So I want to thank you for all the support that you've given to all of our Florida members of Congress. We work in a bipartisan manner, and you've been great with our Florida members especially. Those are the ones that I care about. In many of their districts, they don't have a strong AIPAC-flavored constituency, you know, folks who are active and energetic and really pushing the agenda, and yet they're there, those members are there because you are a national organization, but you're very much grassroots. So I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for the job that you do day in and day out. It's my pleasure to represent some of you, like the Rudmans, and I hope that you bet. We've got some great friends. But anyway, thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for your tireless efforts. Thank you for helping us to do the right thing day in and day out. And I know that you probably have to be somewhere. Jonathan said he's going to be lobbying the Diaz-Balards. So do you want to lobby me on something? And I've got to go meet the president of Afghanistan, or he just doesn't feel right.